Okay, so in this video, I want to show you how to quickly solve a mixed stream cash flow problem using both the financial calculator as well as Excel. So either way you do it, really just your preference, but they can both be done very quickly as opposed to solving multiple single time value money problems and then having to sum them up at the end for your final answer. So again, we have a mixed stream cash flow problem here. We've got 7 different years or 7 different cash flows, however you want to look at it. We got 20,000 in the first year, 24,000 in the second, 30,000 in the third. Then we have the same cash flow, 33,000 in the next 3 years after that. And then finally in year 7, we have a cash flow of $20,000. And in this problem, we'll use an opportunity cost or a required rate of return of 9%. So let's go ahead and solve this in the calculator first. So with this problem, again, instead of doing 7 separate time value of money problems, present value problems, we can do this by just utilizing our cash flow register in one quick, efficient solution. So in this problem, what we would do is, just as a best practice, my recommendation is enter the rate first. So we have an opportunity cost of 9%. So I'm going to press 9, and then I'm going to click on the interest button. And this is part of the 5 key approach. We're not using the 5 key approach. Again, we're not solving 7 separate problems. We're going to use the cash flow register. But if we click on the interest button now, we can then just get it on the screen and hit the cash flow button next to carry it into our problem. So you'll see the 9% interest rate designated up here in the top of the screen. So right off the bat, it's asking us for our cash flow at time 0. So in capital budgeting problems, we'll use a cash flow at time 0 all the time, particularly for upfront expenses prior to receiving the benefit of the cash flows in future years. But for this problem here, we're just looking at really a present value of a mixed stream. So the net will be the present value of these cash flows, but no expense at time 0 to get these cash flows. So what we're going to do is just arrow down to the cash flow 1. So CO1 is cash flow 1, and that in this problem is $20,000. Now, as a best practice, I like to hit the enter button because that's what you'll need to do on your handheld calculator if you use the handheld as opposed to the online version of the calculator. So again, just as a best practice, I hit enter. I could just arrow down, it'll still save it, but I'm going to hit enter and then arrow down. And you see it'll save our numbers up top here. F1 is frequency. So there's just one $20,000 cash flow, so frequency is 1. It's a one-time cash flow for that year. Going to arrow down, and our second cash flow is $24,000, so we'll enter that in there. That again is a one-time cash flow, so frequency is 1. Meaning that there's not consecutive years of $24,000 being received. So let's enter down to cash flow 3, and that one is $30,000. Enter that, and that is one time. And here's where we can take a little bit of a shortcut. So cash flow 4 is $33,000, but notice it's the same for years 5 and 6. So instead of entering 3 separate $33,000 cash flows, we'll just enter it once under cash flow 4, and enter. And now when we arrow down to frequency, here's where we can take the shortcut by entering a 3 because there's 3 consecutive years of the same cash flow. So you'll watch up here at the top of the screen when we hit enter, it's going to fill in for us 3 separate years of $33,000 cash flows. So it saves us a little bit of time. And we'll arrow down to the final cash flow. So now we're in cash flow 5. So again, we're in year 7, but this is the 5th cash flow that we're entering because we entered 33,000 up here already with just one input and frequency of 3. So the 5th cash flow is $20,000. And that is just one time, so we'll leave it as is. And to compute that, we're just going to hit compute like you would on your handheld calculator, and then NPV, net present value. And there's our answer. So the present value of this mixed stream of cash flows is $137,157.72. So now we can also solve this problem very quickly and easily on by utilizing Excel. So here in Excel, I've already just typed out years 1 through 7. And so we'll go ahead and input the dollar figures, 20,000, 24,000, 30,000, and we've got 33,000 for 3 years in a row. And then finally 20,000 in year 7. So now we need to enter our rate, which is 9%. Now here's one big difference between using Excel and the calculator. So in the financial calculator, you enter the rate as, assuming it's an annualized rate, you enter it as 9. So 9% is entered as 9. Well, in Excel, you need to enter it as a decimal. So in here, we would enter 0 or 0.09. Okay? And then for net present value, here's where we'll enter our formula. And to start a formula in Excel, we always start with the equal sign. So we're going to equal, and you can watch as I type it up here in the menu bar up here, the formula bar up here is going to show all of our inputs. So equals, and we need our function. In this case, it's going to be net present value, or NPV. And then we're going to do a parenthesis, and then it tells us what we need to enter here within the shortcut menu. So first it wants the rate, and instead of typing 0.09, we're just going to designate the cell that holds the rate that we're needing to input in there. So if we just click on the cell that has our rate as a decimal, and then enter the comma, because we need a comma to separate values. Now it's asking for what it needs are the different values of the cash flows. So instead of having to enter them in one by one or assign the cell locations one by one, we can just simply go to our first cash flow, click on the mouse and hold it down. So left click, hold it down, and just drag down to cover the full range. Okay, and so you'll see in the shortcut bar, the formula bar up here, it's going to display all the cells, all the applicable cells for the cash flows. Now, if we just close the parentheses out and hit enter, there we have the same answer, 137, 157, 72 cents. So by entering a formula, we can save this worksheet for later. That way, if we get a similar problem, which you'll definitely have as you study time value of money problems, we can very quickly, even more quickly, solve future problems by just using this same sheet. So if we encounter an additional problem, let's say a few minutes later, where we've got just making up numbers, let's say we have $10,000 for year 1, we have $12,000 for year 2, $15,000 for year 3, year 4, let's say it's $8,000, and then let's say there's only 4 years of cash flows, so we can just zero out years 5, 6, and 7 on our spreadsheet. We don't have to erase them, just zero them out. And then our answer is computed for us right here in the NPV box, because that's what we've already set the formula ahead so that we could solve future problems just using the same worksheet. And then you can do some simple customizations too to help you kind of maneuver or find answers more quickly. You've got bold or italics you can do up here on the top of the screen. You can center, right justify the cell if you'd like. Center your answer. You can color in the answer or bold it. There's a color bucket here on the top. You can highlight it as yellow so that way it's easy to find the problems. Rate, you could center that. You could color it also a different color. So there's lots of different ways that you can format in Excel to help you more efficiently input the data as well as see the solution and utilize it for later.